guess our story really begins back in 1859. That's where our connection to Ateret Kohanim and the Yemenite village begins, where our great-great-grandfather, Israel Dov Frumkin, emigrated from Russia to the then Palestine, now Israel. As he grew up, he became the publisher of the first Hebrew newspaper at that time in the 1870s in Jerusalem, the Chavatzelet. Want to show it? Which he published there for many years. And during the crisis of all the new immigrations coming in the 1880s, and the Yemenites were immigrating to Israel and had no place to live, he was one of the founders of the Yemenite village, the purchaser of the land where the Yemenite village now stands. So this is a story that's very, very dear to our heart and really embodies our ancestry. So it's such an incredible thing to see that now there's a revitalization of that area and Jewish families are able to move back in, and supporting them and bringing Jewish families and bringing the things that they need to build a community again is just the most beautiful thing that you could see, recapturing our ancestral homeland.
Israel Dov Frumkin actually came with his father, which makes Gail and me and Dalia sixth generation Yerushalmim. We were born in Yerushalayim, but the interest in Israel Dov and the story of that part of the family is fairly recent. Israel Dov, who was Chabad, Lubavitcher, because of his father-in-law, whose last name was Bach, he happened to marry into the only printing press in Yerushalayim at the time, and therefore his father-in-law, who was quite elderly, gave him partial editorial control of the newspaper. And he was politically somewhere in between extremely religious, right-wing, and more interested in building a Medina by having Jews develop jobs and a way to make money and a way to grow food. So when Jews arrived, when my family arrived in 1859, it was a place that there was really very little. People mainly survived on money donated from Europe that went to supporting the Jews who were very, very poor there. But Israel Dov, among the things that he did was have a very successful newspaper, which had a very strong political point of view. And he was very, very involved in different ways of distributing money, mainly things like buying land for needy people. And the money that arrived for the Yemenite Aliyah, I believe, actually came from England mostly. But the way that it was spent was that he personally bought the land. His name is on the deed, not to own for himself, but in order to build the Yemenite village. He was not the only one. There were lots of people involved, but I think that one of his sons wrote that throughout his life this was one of the accomplishments that he really was proud of, and he would get on a donkey once a week and ride over to the Yemenite village to check up and see how people were doing, and this was one of the things he was very, very proud of.
The most exciting thing I can remember is back in '67 when we recaptured the old city and going back to the old city for the first time. I remember my father, a soldier who was one of the breachers of the wall, coming back to see our ancestral homes for the very first time, walking down the very, very streets where our family grew up and lived, and where he was able to point out the door where his father was born in the old city and gave us the key to the door of the place. The point is to be able to repopulate, move into the places where we used to live, where we used to own, and make Yerushalayim Abnuyah again. And this is what the beauty of what Ateret Kohanim is trying to do. And this is the future that we want, the legacy that we want to leave for our children, to bring our own people back to our ancestral homeland.
Visiting the Yemenite village with Mati Dan was one of the highlights of my life so far. I think that while we've been to Yerushalayim a lot and seen a lot of things, this was really, really exceptional. My wife and my youngest son, who's spending a gap year in yeshiva this year, we went together. And when we arrived there, he took us up, and some very, very kind and brave people allowed us into their homes to show us around, all young people with little children. And they showed us what's now called the Frumkin house, which I think is a wonderful tribute. And I was introduced as the great-great-grandson of Israel Dov Frumkin, and a young man who has 4 little children and a wife living in the midst of circumstances that are uncomfortable, shook my hand and said, "I'm very honored to meet you." And I said to him, "That's very kind of you to say, but I'm actually honored to meet you because you do this every day. You live here, your children are here. And this is something that I really, really respect, that people can and should do."
Shalom everyone, we're here at the second foothold in the Yemenite village, another one of the amazing success stories. It's called the House of Frumkin. Israel Dov Frumkin helped the Yemenite Jews in the 1800s, saw that they were in dire straits. He helped create the society that effectively built the Yemenite village at the time. This building has been named for him.
And anyone who can go see and help and support, I think really should.
I just want to thank Ateret Kohanim for giving us all this great honor that we appreciate very much. It is a great cause, and Jerusalem, Yerushalayim, is a beautiful place, and it is a lot more beautiful than people can ever imagine unless they just go there and see it for themselves. I want to thank all of our friends and their families who joined us here tonight. It means a lot to us. Again, support this cause. Look into Ateret Kohanim and what they're doing, and I think you'll find that it's a very good and powerful and just mission that they're on. Thank you.
We have so many people to thank tonight. First, we'd like to thank Ateret Kohanim for giving us the opportunity to do this good work, to repopulate Jerusalem with the people who belong back in their ancestral homes and houses. We would like to thank all of our friends and family for coming out tonight to support not only us and Gail and Joe, but also to support this important institution. We'd also like to thank Paul Brody, who found us and found our connection to the Frumkin house in Israel. Thank you so much.